Hi everyone, Nigel Saunders here. Today I'm going to repot my Kapok or Kapok trees. Normally these trees will grow as tall as me over the summer. They're very vigorous growers. But this year the growth has really slowed down on these trees. They're quite weak. So I'm going to check out the root system, repot them into a larger pot. I noticed I have to water this tree like 3 or 4 times a day, so it's using up a lot of water, and maybe it's just going too dry between the waterings. So I think it's time to take it out of the pot, have a look at the root system, and repot it into a larger pot. Here is a look at the trees. So a lot of this growth is the leaves from the indoor growth from over winter, and the new growth is just kind of really weak at the tips. Not much at all. There are buds kind of formed on the lower part of the branches here. So I think I'll cut it back today and repot it and just see if it grows with vigor for the rest of the summer. So here's the soil. Now it did rain this morning, but it still already looks dry. So yeah, maybe it's just staying too dry, not enough moisture in the pot, and it's just not growing very vigorously. I had it here in the greenhouse to keep it warm and humid. It is a true tropical tree. You can't let it go too cold. I try and keep it above 15 degrees Celsius. Any lower than that, you're risking losing the whole tree. So I've kept it in the greenhouse here, and it wasn't growing very vigorously, so I thought, well, maybe it's too hot in the greenhouse. I moved it outside, and that didn't seem to help much either. It still isn't growing with a lot of vigor. So yeah, my only solution, I think, is to try repotting the tree. All of the trees in this pot are cuttings. This was a cutting off the original trees that I grew from seeds. Bonsai Jay gave it back to me. Yeah, I just didn't realize at that time that they can't take very much cold or they just die. So I've been keeping them warm and they've been growing quite well. And these are cuttings off of the main tree here. It's always good to have backups. So I think I'm going to pot this tree into one of those new dragon pots I got from Chris Hendry. It's quite a bit larger, and we'll see how it does. So let me get the trees out of the pot. Okay, here I go. I'll grab it by the main tree here and just try and ease it out of here. Oh, it's pretty tight. I think I'm going to have to use my tweezers. Here they are. And just run the edge of the tweezers around the pot. So maybe it is quite root bound. I'm trying to think how long it's been in this pot. I think it's only been 2 years, but maybe not. Sometimes time flies by on me and I don't realize. I'll check when I go inside. Just check how long it's been in this pot. Yeah, it's definitely quite pot bound. Okay, let me try again. It wants to lift out. There it goes. Okay. So let's have a look at the roots here. Well, there's certainly some loose soil up top, but there is a mat of roots on the bottom. I can tilt the trees here. Yeah, there's quite a mat on the bottom, but it doesn't look too pot bound. So I don't know. I'll go ahead with the repotting anyway. Maybe it's just drying out too much. So I'll start combing out the soil from the roots. Definitely on the dry side in here. I think maybe that's the problem, is that there's so many roots in here and it just sucks up the water so quickly that maybe it's just not getting enough moisture to grow vigorously. So these Kapok trees, they are probably my favorite tree of trees growing in nature. And hopefully someday I can make it one of my favorite bonsai also. Yeah, it's really dry in here. So I watered this really thoroughly last night, but it's way too dry. Yeah, I'm actually amazed how dry it is. Considering even last night we got rain, not very much, but so these trees are a rainforest tree, and they grow to immense heights. They're the tallest trees in the rainforest. They just shoot up, and they get thorns all over the trunks, which is a really cool feature. And then as they get older, they lose the thorn on the trunks, and it's only on the branches you see them. But they get a beautiful umbrella canopy on them. They're just a beautiful looking tree. Great big buttressed root base. So I'm trying to grow, one of my favorite, if not my favorite tree in nature as a bonsai. And I'm making progress. I figured out that you can't let them get cold, which is a big step ahead. And I'm also, learning they can take hard pruning, they can take good root pruning. Yeah, I think they're quite a good tree for bonsai. I just cannot believe how dry this is. And when I water this tree, I water it really thoroughly. It just must suck that water up really quickly. There's one tree separated. So I'm going to stick these in water and let them soak in a bit of moisture until I get the pot ready for repotting. So I'll take it away to my bucket of water. So today our second big heat wave of the summer broke. So we have a high of 19 degrees Celsius today. So it went from, highs of 31, 32 down to 19 today. And tonight we have a low of 12 degrees Celsius, which is too cold for these trees. If I left these outside on the bench, it's quite likely they would die. They have to be kept warm. There's another tree separated. Yeah, I would put these in the same category as the water jasmine, the bluebell. Oh, this drainage screen's really entangled in the roots here. There. Okay, that one can go in the bucket of water too. Now, can I get the other two cuttings separated? So these cuttings have never been root pruned. This is the first repotting for these cuttings. Some of these finer roots just dried up. Yeah, so I think that's the answer why these haven't been growing well, is they've just been sucking the water up and it's too dry for them. So they can go in the bucket of water. Now I just have the root system of the large tree here. Now I've got to get the drainage screen out. I probably should have pruned the tree up before I started the repotting, but I can do it before I pot it up. Drainage screen, here's one. That's out. I think that's it for the drainage screens. Yeah, I can tell it was too dry because all the roots are in the bottom of the pot where the moisture would be. The roots up top haven't developed very well. So, I'll be sure. I'll use a coarser soil. That should get the water down throughout the soil a little easier. And I will put it in the bigger pot and just water it way more. Because it's just way too dry. Okay, so I'm going to put that in the water, clean up, and then we'll come back and do some root pruning. I am ready to begin the root pruning. So here's a look at the roots. So there's one big thick root that went around the bottom of the pot. There's another one over here that hit the bottom of the pot and kept growing. My upper roots, you can see they haven't grown a whole lot. So I want to encourage these upper roots to get that nice root flare and discourage the ones that are growing down low. So I'm going to cut off my thicker roots. So where is the question? I think right here. So these trees grow easily from cutting, so you can do fairly aggressive root pruning on them. So that takes the one thick root off and everything that's attached to it. And then my other thick one was over here. You can see it growing down. And I think I want to take it off here. I gotta go a little deeper. A little deeper still. There. Okay. So that's the second biggest root off. And then I've got a lot growing down here. I think I just want to cut it off, letting these upper roots grow. So I'll come in and just cut through these lower roots, taking that off, and this one. And that is probably good. It's flat on the bottom. It's a little more shallow. I've got these upper roots that can grow out. Yeah, that's it for the big chops. So next, I think I want to go up top and prune the tree, and I should have done that before I repotted it. So right away on this branch, I have a branch fanning outwards, and then I got a vertical section, a branch going to the inside. I think I better shorten it to that branch that's fanning outwards. So I'll come in here, leave a bit of stub for dieback, take that off shorter. This one, I have a little shoot on the outside here. I've got some leaf scars up here. I'm going to take it off shorter to here. On this side, I have a bud down lower, leaf scar up here. I've got some branching there. I think I'm going to go off to here. This one, I've got a bud coming out here. I kind of like that. So I'll take it off. Leave me a bit of a stub for dieback. There. And then on the upper structure, I've got this branch. I have a stub here I can take out from the last time I pruned it. Like that. And then I need to shorten this. I got some buds on the outside here. There's one here, a leaf scar. I'm going to go off to here. This one, I'll leave it a little taller. Take it off up here. This one, I'll leave it. I think that's it. I think that's got the tree pruned back quite nicely. Roots are pruned back. There's where I cut it off before, there's quite a stub here. I could clean that up So I will come in and just take it back. Making that transition a little nicer. Like that. And then I think I'll seal all my cuts up with rubber cement. That's what I used last time I pruned the tree, and it worked quite nicely. It just stops them drying out and dying back as much. So I'll put my rubber cement on here. And all these other little cuts. And that is it. Did I hit this one? No. Maybe I did. It's done now. Okay, so that's all sealed up. I've never put rubber cement on the roots. Generally they generate new roots quite easily, and yeah, I haven't seen really a need for it. It might be something I try in the future on some trees. So that is pruned up, ready to be planted. Now these, I could grow these as cuttings, but I have, the main tree here and 4 cuttings already, so I don't need any more cuttings. So unfortunately, they'll just have to go on the compost heap. I always tell people, if you want a cutting off one of my trees, let me know, and I'll root it for you and give it to you next time I see you. It can only be for people who live in the area in southwestern Ontario, Canada. You can't ship plant material outside of the province, so, and it'd have to be if I can see you in person. I'm not going to go mailing cuttings and plants away. So only if you see me at shows or meetings, I'll root a cutting for you and give it to you next time I see you. Speaking of cuttings, I recently pruned up my Sarissa, gave it quite a pruning, and I had some good cuttings off of the tree. You can see the tree is now leafing out with new growth. It's looking really, really good. So down below here are the cuttings, and they are still green. So I think they've rooted. I guess I'll know in another month, but I think they're rooted and underway. So I can give, I think there's 3 of them in there. I can give those away to people at the next meeting. Here's a look at the cuttings that I've rooted from this Kapok tree. So you can see they were buried in the soil quite deeply. Usually when you stick a cutting in the soil, you make sure it's in the soil quite deep. So I can raise them up now, kind of getting the root system just below the surface of the soil. So I'll do a little bit of root pruning on these. You can see this one has a big root coming off the one side that needs pruning back, just to kind of balance the vigor of the root system, so all the roots are growing evenly. Okay, here I go pruning the roots. So this one, I'll just take this thickest root off, like that. This one looks okay. I'll just flatten it out on the bottom a bit. That should be good. This one, it's kind of got a long taproot coming down. I'll shorten that. Shorten these, just flattening it out a bit. And this one, this root's sticking up. This one's getting too long. These are sticking down too far. Flatten it out a bit, and I think that's quite good. Yeah, that one's kind of curly. I better take that off. Yeah, that's okay. Take this one back a bit more. And this one. There. Okay, so all the trees are ready for planting now. So I'll get out the pot and get the pot ready. Here is the new pot. I'll be putting the trees in, a Chinese dragon pot. It's got 2 dragons on the front. It's a really nice pot. I checked the playlist. I just repotted these Kapoks last June. So it's only been 1 year in that pot. So I don't think they were root bound. I think the problem was just getting more moisture into the soil. So I'll keep my eyes on it. I'll water it twice as much as I was watering it, keeping it moist at all times. These pots, the clay in them is porous, so it sucks moisture out of the soil. Not in the glazed areas, but underneath. So maybe they kind of suck the moisture out of the soil more than a frost-proof pot that's kind of harder clay that doesn't absorb water. So maybe that's one of the reasons too. So I'll really have to keep my eyes on the watering. This pot already has a drainage layer of coarse lava rock on the bottom, so I'll add my soil on top and plant the trees. So here I go, it's time to plant them. So I'll need to check how high I need the soil in the pot. So I want the root system about there, so I would say a layer of soil about this deep. So I will add that now. Okay, so the soil I'm using has a lot of pumice in it. It should be quite good. I'll need a lot of it. Yeah, this pumice should be good at, holding moisture in the soil. Lots of aeration for the roots. And it's quite coarse, so it should allow for good free drainage and frequent watering. And again, I'm trying to use up all these soil ingredients I had around. Okay, I think that's a good height for the soil. So now I've got to position and place the main tree in the pot. So let's do that. So the front of the tree, I've got this main trunk coming up the front, which would be nice. These two branches coming off left and right. I think somewhere there. So this main trunk, you can see the one behind it. Yeah, I think somewhere there. And I'll plant this tree fairly central in the pot. Not right on center. It's a little heavier on this side, so I'll bring it over to the left-hand side a bit. But somewhere about there, I think. I'm just having a look. A little more over to there. I think that's good. So next, I'm checking the height in the pot. That's good. So I've got to rake out my roots. Make sure they're arranged radially, so they're fanning out from the trunk as much as I can. Make sure the tree doesn't tip over. I think that's pretty good. Make sure the tree is vertical, and I can add soil around the base. Okay, now the next tree, I'll pick the thickest one and the tallest one. I think it's this one. So that one can go on this side, and I think I'll go behind the main tree. Something like that. And the roots I didn't need to comb out because they were quite short and pruned radially already. I think the main tree could be moved forward even more. I know this will disturb the roots a little, but I think they'll still be okay. The soil kind of moved with it. This one can be brought in a bit. So there's a look at the front now. I think that's not too bad. I can always change it, with the next repotting. But I think that's okay. It looks fairly balanced in the pot. Yeah, I think that's okay. So I'll fill it in with soil now. So I just need to top the soil up a little more. So it's just below the lip of the pot. It is getting very close. In fact, I think that is good. Yeah. Okay, let's have a last look at the trees and the composition, and then I will water the planting. Here's a look at the trees in the pot. So there's the front. I'll just rotate it around. So here's the front, the right-hand side, the back, the left-hand side, and back to the front. I'm just going to top dress this soil with some of the finer soil, just so it holds the moisture in a little better. You'll find you get all the evaporation on the upper layer of the soil. So if you have like a finer top dressing, it just holds the moisture in a little better. And I'll give it a good watering until water is coming out the drainage holes. And I'll water it several times today, making sure that soil stays moist, because it takes a while for the soil to absorb water into all the the particles. So at first when you water it, it looks like it's fully saturated, and then the new soil will suck up more water. So you need to water several times after repotting on the same day. So it's coming out the drainage holes now, but I'll probably run 2 watering cans through here. The only negative thing about putting these trees in a larger pot is that they'll take up more place or more space in the plant room this year, when I have to bring them in for the winter. But I'd rather them stay nice and healthy and grow with lots of vigor than keeping them in too small a pot where they don't get enough moisture. There's a look at all the water coming out of the pot. So you can see it's quite kind of a bit of a milky color. Yeah, so the trees should do well. I'll show you a close-up of the cool dragon pot. I really like this pot. So there's the dragon heads. Yeah, so I have, this is a blue one, and I have the green one over here that I have my ficus in. So it's a twin pot to this one. Yeah, so very exciting. I sure like that pot. I'm glad with the Kapoks that I didn't find any problems with the root systems like root rot or disease or anything like that. Everything looked healthy. I think the basic problem was just not getting enough water to the roots. So this should help, and I'll make sure I keep it well watered. The heat wave has come to an end today, and I'm kind of sad because you get used to the really warm temperatures in the daytime, and it cools off a little bit at night, but you get used to the warm temperatures. Tonight at 12 degrees is going to feel really, really cold, and I think the trees liked the warm, humid weather. At least all the tropicals did anyway. So I'm kind of sad to see the heat wave come to an end, and it's gone from really, really hot and humid to really, really cool. So it's not a gradual drop off. It just kind of happened all at once, and it's a bit of a transition for both the trees and me, I'm sure. So that is it for today. I'm Nigel Saunders. Thanks for joining me in the Bonsai Zone.